podcast for over 2 years now.
Nice.
Yeah, probably 2.5 years now, maybe.
Fun.
And I came in on
and join your host, Moose and Ghost Dog.
Hey everybody, what's going on this Sunday afternoon or evening? I guess it depends on where you are. But I'm Moose, and I got Ghost Dog in the house. How you doing, man?
Yo, what is up? Doing good. How about you?
Doing all right. So, yeah, it seems like a quiet Sunday. We were just chatting about that. But also along with us, we got Deacon from the UMCOC podcast. How you doing, Deacon?
Hey, pretty good. Good to be here. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet Moose. I know Ghost Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure meeting you too. Yeah, he's been on your guys' podcast a few times. So yeah, you guys have met him. But yeah, no, it's definitely a pleasure meeting you. When he told me that you were going to be joining us, I was definitely looking forward to it. There's definitely just I think fun conversations to have, especially with champs and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
All right.
Cool.
Excellent.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean, first thing I really wanted to get into was the tournament that you and other Gabe put together. That was so much fun. How did you have fun putting it together and all that stuff? Or?
Man, I've got to tell you, I've got to give all of the, everything goes to the other Gabe, El Gaberino on Twitter. He approached me with this back in February. And it was right when the Corona started to get going and they were canceling everything. He was like, "Why don't we do something along the lines of March Madness? Nice. with all of these heroes, because for the longest time on my Twitter I was posting Deke's picks, and these were the characters that I wanted in the Contest of Champions, and he had this great website where he's got all of these other characters down that he would want and what they rank. And so he's the one that did all of the work. He just asked me, "Hey, do you mind hosting this?" and helping me host. And so I've really got to give all of the credit going to El Gaberino. He's awesome. He did an awesome job at this.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it was super cool. I had so much fun. Absolutely. Doing that. And he did, such a great job. It was so fun it was so well put together, especially, you were saying about the time that he approached you and wanted to do a March Madness because everything was being canceled. Makes a whole lot of sense because, like when I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's like totally March Madness for sure. And makes a whole lot of sense. And then, I was also I didn't really have a Twitter until I started doing this with Ghost Dog, the podcast here. So I was just all of this really was very new to me. And then seeing, the other Gabe having that website you were talking about with all the champs, and some of those are so in depth. It's so you can get lost on there for hours looking through some of those and just imagining it.
I thought I knew a lot about comic characters, but there's some on there that I'm like, who the crap is this? I've never heard of this guy before.
That's how I was with about 75% of the people on the list. But for sure, yeah. I mean, I didn't really get into comics probably until I got into MCOC, so it was all pretty new to me. But so on the whole list, what was your favorite champ? Who did you think was probably going to win?
I really thought that Null was going to win.
Okay.
When I went through them all, I really thought he was going to win, but I didn't pick him on mine. I honestly, I was trying to pull up my bracket right here, and I can't find it anywhere. But I don't remember who I picked.
Fair enough.
Overall.
Fair enough. Who was your most favorite?
I'm trying to find it right now. There were a lot on there. Okay, here I've got it up. There were a lot on there that I really loved. My favorites were probably Gideon. He was a big X-Force. He was in the first of X-Force. I liked Gideon. There was Riptide Kill Raven was a cool one. Spot, who actually finished second, was a really cool character that I thought would fit into the Contest of Champions really well. You've got Mr. Fantastic's Special 2, where he kind of does that. That's the mechanics are already built into the game to have Spot in the game.
Makes sense.
But you had Sentinel X and Ragnarok. Dr. Bong
Right.
was, you know, he was a last minute entry
Yeah,
from somebody
right.
who suggested it, and wow, he went really far.
He did.
What a crazy character.
What? Really?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he was like one of the last minute ones. So it was him, and I know Venom Rocket was one of them who he also went pretty far as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I never even heard of Dr. Bong or even thought of it would be a concept. And it's just this guy who's got like a bell for a head and like, the little, like a hammer or whatever for a hand. And he just hits it really hard and that like knocks people out and stuff. Like,
He's one of those silly Marvel characters that that came out back in the day. You have a handful of those characters that are just ridiculous, and and Dr. Bong was always on that list of ridiculous Marvel characters.
for sure.
But overall, looking back at all of the characters now, there are some really good ones in there. But Null was probably the clear winner from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd say,
I don't know how.
what were you going to say?
I don't know how. I was going to say I don't know how they would incorporate him into the game. If they did, he would be pretty lackluster, like some of the other super powerful characters that we have.
Yeah, I guess I agree. I guess if they put him in the game like as a playable character, I guess, I guess instead of maybe like a trophy one or maybe like I remember there were some conversations going on about that on the Twitter feed and stuff like that where they were talking if you had him kind of like the Grandmaster in a way. I thought that would be kind of cool. You could maybe incorporate that like a whole symbiote vibe to maybe like war or something like that. That could be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, true. He totally would be lackluster. But yeah, I ended up choosing Null as the winner. I went with a real symbiote theme, like the kind of alliance community I belong to and help manage is called the Symbiotic Empire. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So it's very, symbiote, Venom, all that themed. So I I had Venom Rocket versus Null in the final. And both of them got pretty far. So, but yeah, I know Spot, I was definitely surprised to see Spot go that far. But then the more you kind of looked into him and saw him, he definitely does seem like he would definitely fit.
Yeah. I could see him being a character in the game.
For sure.
I really could with some of the other random characters that they've added, especially like this month. I would have never guessed, Tigra and Hitmonkey.
Right.
There's so many other characters that I would have put, but once they're in the game, you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool.
It makes sense. For sure.
Yeah.
That was another thing I kind of wanted to, I guess, go over or see or whatever, was on Twitter, Otrix. I'm never going to say his name right. But
I'll call him Otto.
Okay, Otto.
Otrix.
That works. What was it, Ghost?
Otrix?
Okay, yeah.
Otrix.
Yeah, Otto, Otrix, that guy. He had like hinted at a tech champ, right? Coming in for maybe next month or something like that, and everybody has gone nuts for that. What are your thoughts on that one?
I kind of had some. Otto and I talk sometimes.
Okay.
So we're friends.
Fair enough.
We like to speculate on characters, and he likes to tell me some stuff that he's found.
Okay.
So
You don't want to give
I
too much
kind of
away.
know who I think
Gotcha.
is coming. I don't want to say anything,
Gotcha.
but I did make a Twitter tease about it.
Okay. Was that okay. Sorry.
It was on. I don't remember whose tweet it was originally, but Otto had said something about the tech champs, and I tweeted out. I replied with a vague hint. All you have to do is Google it, and it'll tell you who it is. But who I think they may be coming, and they may not be coming. I don't want to take away the thunder.
Okay.
Is why I'm not saying the
No,
name.
that's fair enough. Fair enough. I did know that you were possibly that close, so I was going to dive into it. But really, I mean, I was just looking over your Twitter. I hadn't found it, but I thought it was cool that some of the feedback that some of the people had was, what's the name? Other Gabe was saying something like Machine Man or Beetle. Yeah. I thought that was pretty. That would be pretty.
The Beetle,
fun.
yeah.
High Evolutionary, always fun. Was it on one of those? But who was it? Where did I put the other one? I had notes, and I was looking at it all morning. Rich the Man had a whole thing about it, and there's like all of this Phantom X. He seems
Phantom
to be,
X.
yeah, right. He seems to be chatted about most out there. But yeah, I guess
There are a lot of
yeah. I was
there
gonna
are
say I guess
a
I don't wanna
lot
give
of
it
good
away.
text
Yeah.
that could be in the game.
For sure. But yeah, no, that should be fun to see kind of who comes, and we'll have to look at that. But yeah, we don't want to take any of the thunder away, so I guess we'll kind of move on
Right,
to
right.
a different subject here. um, but yeah, so one of the other things that I kind of wanted to get into was about I thought. Before we kind of went live, we were talking about it, but you had said you were doing Alliance Quest. I had thought I was listening to one of the podcasts where you were taking a break or something for that. I guess was I wrong or
I had, I guess it was probably about a year ago,
okay?
maybe a little less, that I had a lot of stuff going on in real life, and I wanted to step back a little bit. The alliance was getting a little higher up in war, and I used to love war, and now it's just I hate war. I just don't like it. It's the one aspect of the game that I just don't like anymore. And they were wanting to concentrate more on war,
Mm.
so I did step down into it was a sister alliance. We've kind of like you guys. We got a family of alliances, and I had stepped back into the retirement alliance that didn't run war and ran like I think map 5, a real low key map 5. And then buddy JJ from the podcast, his alliance was a lot of people were disbanding, and he was afraid his alliance was breaking up. So I decided to step out of retirement to help him
Mm.
try to build his alliance back up. And we tried there for a while, and I ended up back to. I was asked to move back to my regular alliance because all of the guys that had moved up to our sister alliance that was competing in like top 25, top 35 AQ, all of those big spenders, they got bored, and they got tired of the game.
Right.
Even back then, this was well before this became a topic in the community here as of late. They got tired of it. They came back. They didn't want to run a high tier war anymore. They wanted to do map 5 AQ, and my leader, who's a buddy of mine, was like, "Hey, come back." I was like, "Oh, that's so tempting because I know every single one of you guys. You guys are my friends that I've been playing with for years." So I'm back, and that's what we do. We were running 655 AQ until the whole alliance ticket mess. So hopefully, when they get that fixed, we'll go back to 655.
Yeah.
So we're running, and we finished in the top 500, top 600 when we did that, and everyone was fine with that.
Yeah.
We didn't want to focus on ranking up individual characters for prestige. We didn't want to have to make our members do that. We will encourage them. Hey, don't forget to pop your 6 stones in, and
Yeah.
rank up your characters. But
Right.
we're not telling you rank up Thor Ragnarok and rank up Phoenix and certain characters. So, and everybody was happy with the rewards that we were getting. And we've had some that's been like, hey man, I want a little bit more, so I'm going to move on. And we're like, hey, the door's always open.
Nice. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
so we it's low key.
Yeah.
It's a low key alliance. We don't have to worry about we don't have to worry about logging in.
Yeah, no, that's for
If
sure.
something happens, then that it happens.
Sounds,
If we don't
yeah.
finish a map because somebody got busy in real life, it's no big deal.
Nice. Sounds stress free, easy.
Yeah, very
especially when-
stress free.
when you've been with people for that long, you kind of know their schedules, and you also know they're not doing it on purpose. So obviously they're busy, and the communication is probably there. So
Right,
probably
yes,
makes it all
yes.
fairly easy.
We have very low turnover. I can't remember. I think one guy left just last week because he had something going on in real life.
Okay.
But before that, it's been 6 months
Yeah.
before since we've had somebody leave the
Nice.
alliance.
It's always nice. those alliances
Yeah.
are always very comforting. Exactly, stress free, easy to work with, make the game enjoyable.
Yeah, make it enjoyable. That's it.
Exactly.
And that's the big thing that I think all of these people that are getting burned out, they're not enjoying the game anymore.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that was kind of one of the things I wanted to ask Ghost Dog. This was kind of your first season with the alliance you're with, correct?
Second.
Is this second season with it? Oh, okay.
Second season.
All right. Well, how is everything going? Like, has everything been running smooth, I guess, and all that?
I mean,
Smooth as it can be, I suppose.
Smooth as I mean, we have issues. So
Well, I mean, is it more or less the game too? Because I mean, I see like a lot of just people just all seem to be kind of just dropping like flies, or just not wanting that kind of stress-free environment. I know you guys do map 6, so I guess it might get a little stressful, but
it's always stressful when someone disappears for longer than they should.
yeah,
The other day we had someone who disappeared at the end of map 6, didn't complete their lane, and therefore cost map 6 crystal for the alliance, which isn't cool, but it happens.
for sure.
Not to was I happy about it? No.
No. Yeah, but stuff happens, like But yeah, and I mean, it's frustrating. I know. I know, it happens. It's frustrating, but when you have like new people in, and even just not even new people, just life happens. But when you're not together for 3 or 4 years, like Deacon over there, it's stressful. Yeah, especially being an officer and stuff like that. I know being in an alliance where, where everybody's been in there forever, it makes it so easy for the officers. They don't really have to do much.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just war placement and not anymore. But you had one guy on treasury duty.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy's lost his job. There were a bunch of us officers in the alliance, and here recently, they were like, we don't need this many officers anymore. Who wants to step down? Who wants to continue being an officer?
Yeah.
And me and a couple of the other guys were like, hey, I'll just be a member for a while. This is the first time that I've just been a member of an alliance for the longest time.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it must be real nice.
It's nice. It's nice. You should try it.
I don't know if I can. I mean, it's been 5 years since I don't think I have been, and not. Although my main account isn't, but so I guess the alt account's just me wanting to, hurt myself, or just, I enjoy pain, I guess. I don't know, frustration. Yeah. But anyway, so I did kind of want to, I guess, kind of get to know you. More like the in bed with Deke, I guess, if you will. those were always fun, man.
You want to be disappointed in bed with Deke?
Well, I have my girlfriend. She opened a 6-star Black Panther, OG Black Panther for me. So, I guess I have my own. But the other,
you do,
yeah. What I did want to bring up was, and I don't know if you wanted to talk about it or not, but the Pod 616. I remember you guys might be bringing that up. I loved that. I loved listening to it. I thought it was super fun. But when we were also chatting, you were talking about you were in radio, or you've been in radio for many years and stuff. So, any chance we're going to hear more of the Pod 616, or both you and JJ pretty busy? Or
I'm hoping. Our idea for Pod 616 years ago was that we wanted to do something that was not concentrating on the game, because we were big comic geeks. So the planning behind Pod 616 just got so much that we both just didn't have time to do it and get the regular podcast together with everything else that was going on.
Makes sense.
But here recently, we've been talking with It's Clobbering Time.
Okay.
And It's Clobbering Time is a big member of the community. He probably knows more about comic books than I do.
Okay.
He's so awesome to talk to about this stuff. And he's a big comic book collector. I think he runs or owns a store.
Nice.
So we're trying to organize something with him that doesn't focus on the game, but is a supplement to people that either are comic book fans, old school like me, or somebody that's only gotten into comic books or comics and superheroes because of this game here recently.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to focus on certain characters or certain storylines that we want you to point out, or we want you to we recommend for you to read. And stuff like that, because it was a cool show. I really enjoyed that show. And JJ and I flirted with a couple of other podcasts like that as well that have they didn't do so well, and they kind of flittered out. That's all right. So we're still working on the formatics of the new Pod 616.
Okay.
And hopefully we can get it back on the air soon.
Nice. Yeah, no, that was I loved it. Yeah, no, I always, if I'm not into the game or watching, YouTube stuff about the game, I'm pretty much still watching stuff about Marvel, all the Easter eggs for the upcoming movies and just all the backstories and stuff like that. So, listening to Pod 616 fit right into the old routine, just pop it in, listen to you guys talk about all that stuff. Learned a whole bunch of, stuff about the, just Marvel and all that I didn't know. And it's fun.
And that's the stuff that I liked as a kid. I liked learning their backstories and their powers and what they did. And, some of the stories from back in the day are a little cheesy if you read them now, but some of the newer stories coming out are pretty much, for adults.
Yeah.
Not that they're dirty or anything, but they're higher level of thinking and a high, more complicated storyline than some of the ones that came out back in the day. So
for sure,
we always liked that, and still to this day, that's the reason I started playing this game, was because I was an old school comic book reader, and my son, who is Deacon,
okay.
he is the one that was like, Dad, you need to check out this game. And so I checked it out and I installed it on my phone under his name, Deacon OTR.
Okay, all right.
OTR is his initials, DOTR.
Right.
And so I installed mine on our tablet, and it was my other name my PlayStation name, my moniker that I always use. So after, I don't know, about 2 or 3 weeks, my son Deacon decided, I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm going to move on to something else.
Yes.
And so he had pulled some better characters on his account than on my account, and it was on my phone. I didn't know at that time that you could switch, if you log in, log out, and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm just gonna play his account because I've always got my phone with me. I don't have to lug around this tablet all the time.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, I'm known as Deacon and as my son's name. And I'm still playing.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. It reminds me of this person that we had in our community who finally changed his name after 4 years. He wanted to entice his daughter into playing the game, so he made the name her name, Amy Rose. So for 4 years, everybody thought that he was a girl.
Are you a girl?
Exactly. Are you a girl? People would hit on him, friend request, all that stuff, and he's like, dude, it's not it. So then finally, when you were able to change the name, that was like the first thing he did, and it was that's pretty funny, like that he was just named. But yeah, no, how you're, after 5 years later, you're known as your son's name.
But it's cool. I will say this, and he knows this, but when he was born, and it was my ex-wife now, we were coming up with names before he was born, and I suggested Deacon, and she liked that name. And then later I ended up telling her, the reason I liked that name Deacon was because that was one of my handles, my old school video game handles. So I named my son that, and then I end up being him, using that handle again.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like the wheels come all the way around full circle.
That's pretty cool.
Deacon's story is very similar to my own, but except for I didn't take over my son's account. I seen my son playing the game. I said, "Hey, what's that game you're playing?" And he was like, "Oh, it's this game." And so I downloaded it, and I started playing it, and I got pretty far along. And then I was like, "Hey, that game?" I was like, "We should join an alliance." He said, "I'll keep that game like the day I showed you that." Great.
I was gonna say, and like you being Ghost Dog, isn't your other handle, wasn't it like Taken or something like that, right?
My other handle was Taken.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you've probably seen it. It's been many variations, and I probably could have made it a different variation, but I figured I go to a whole new handle.
There you go.
As opposed to the new variation of my old gamer tag.
And years later, you're known as Ghost Dog.
Yep, and now I'm officially known as Ghost Dog. So now I'm going to have to change all my gamer tags.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay, so Deacon, another thing that, or I guess formerly known or as Deacon, yeah, we'll go Deacon.
Yeah.
No, so the other thing, on Twitter, a couple days ago, you had posted like, can we all start a hire Deacon for voiceover, Twitter like campaign, right? Because that's what you've been doing for 26 years, and Gabe, the actual Gabe from the game, and all that hit you guys up. So I was curious about your voiceover and all that stuff because that's kind of just interesting to me. But that sounds fun. So you do voiceovers, and what you want to do you should do the voiceovers for those little comics they're doing.
I was so just blown back when I logged onto my Twitter the other day and Gabe had responded, "Hey, send me a demo." And I was out actually walking the dogs and going through it, and I come up with that, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm actually going to have to come up with a demo of all these voices now."
It wasn't a bluff.
Yeah, it wasn't a bluff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I started in radio when I was 18, and it just fell in love. I fell in love with radio. I got it in my blood, and it's just so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of these people that I've had many jobs. I've always worked in radio at some capacity, but I've always had usually 2 jobs my entire life.
Okay.
So I've done pizza making, and I worked with juvenile justice for a long time, and so radio is just one of those that you're just like, oh, thank God I don't have to. I can kick off my shoes, and nobody's got to worry about anything.
Sure. Yeah.
The only thing I got to worry about is making sure I got coffee.
Yeah.
And, it was so cool that I got into doing voices years ago. Working on, I worked with a radio company that owned 9 radio stations, and most of them were the big stations in the area. So I was doing morning show on a classic rock station, and the guys on the top 40 station would have me come in and do voices of characters, and then the guys on the classic country station, I was an old man named Festus on there that was a regular character. And even when I worked on the top 40 station, I had several characters that I did. Nice. And I really enjoyed doing these characters because it wasn't just changing your voice, it was getting down to the inflection that this particular character would talk. He wouldn't sound like this other character, or the particular words that they used or phrases. So I really kind of got into it. And over the years, I use those voices in my commercials.
Okay.
So I do commercials for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do commercials for 6 radio stations right now.
Fun.
So I'm constantly doing commercials all week long. They'll send me scripts, and a lot of them are in radio. A lot of them are just, we call them rip and reads, where you read it and put some music behind it, and you're done.
Okay.
But some of them are, I want to make them stand out more.
Okay.
Because as we know, everybody nowadays, everybody's attention span is about 10 to 15 seconds.
Absolutely.
So I've got to keep your attention in radio that is a dying format, with Spotify and the internet and YouTube and all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to keep your attention for 30 seconds.
For sure.
So I have to not only write it to keep your attention, I have to use background noises and music to keep your attention. And if I can use a different voice to get your attention, to keep it. So that's a big part of my work day.
Okay.
Is I'm on the radio and back announcing songs. That was so-and-so. Here's so-and-so. I'm doing all that crap, but my big part of the day is spots and coming up with this stuff and thinking, oh, okay, and what kind of voice am I going to use here?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fun. When you were talking about it, it was just kind of like, like being into comic books, right? So you're creating a backstory for that voice, so you believe that voice because you want the other people to believe it. That sounds like a lot of fun.
So I'm going to try to come up with a demo. I'll post it on Twitter and tag
Nice.
Gabe and all those folks, and let everybody hear it.
Nice.
But I've got my own demo tape for radio that's got a bunch of different voices. But I thought about going in and recording some comic specific voices.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to sound like everyone, but I've picked out some that I thought, okay, I could probably do them.
Nice.
You know, I could probably sound like them. And the one that I really enjoyed doing was just a silly little thing for the podcast was when Mojo was introduced.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm just going to right at the beginning when Dragon's going through her introduction, and she says the same thing, you know, every time in the introduction. I'm going to break in as Mojo and dog our podcast, you know, and talk about how Mojo's the greatest. Mojo's the greatest, you know. This loser podcast.
That's awesome.
And after I posted that, I just did it for fun. Everybody loved it, and a lot of the Kabam folks were like, I remember in the CCP chat, there was a couple of Kabam folks was like, who did the Mojo voice? And they were like, Deacon did that. And I was like, yeah, that was me. Please hire me.
There you go. That'd be fun. That'd be so much fun.
I was almost to the point when we were going to New York for the Summoner Showdown. That's what Ashley was telling me. She was like, if you can talk to them about, you know, doing some voices, you honestly wouldn't even need to be paid, just as long as you could put that on a resume. No. Oh yeah, I was the voice of Wolverine in Marvel's Contest of Champions or something like that.
For sure.
That would look so good on a resume.
Absolutely. That's super fun. Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that, but I think there you go. Nice. That's fun. I look forward to checking out the demo, seeing what you come up with. That'll be fun to check out. So
I've always, I guess my dream job, my all-time, this has been my dream job for years, would be to work for the Jim Henson Company.
Okay.
And be a puppeteer that did the voices, you know.
Nice. So, like, have you always been doing voices, or did it just come from being in radio? Like, we just
no, I've always done something stupid. I can remember my mom just kind of like looking at me and rolling her eyes, and being like, "Can I talk to my real name's Andy?
Okay,
I don't care if people know.
Fair enough.
She'd be like, "Can I talk to my son Andy?" I'm like,
are we talking to Andy Kaufman, or I mean, you know.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So many different personalities, huh? It's just whichever one wakes up that day. That's awesome. That's super fun. Yeah, no, that'll be fun. I've always been interested in it, and then you know, like you're saying, you know, you just kind of like fell in love with radio and been in radio. I never really thought about it honestly, but started doing this podcast, and like you're saying, you know, it's you just kind of kick your feet up, and it's fun to, you know, research the stuff, and it's fun to just kind of, you know, learn about it and talk about it. You know, at least for me, I've always said, I probably say it almost every episode, but for me, I've always been like a hockey fan, and it's just the fun is just talking about hockey all the time, right? You don't ever really get to talk about, you know, the game. So, you know, you've been doing the podcast for a while. This is kind of the first time I've been able to just like actually talk about it like on a weekly basis. So definitely making the kind of radio and all of that more enjoyable, and, you know, hopefully I know it's sparking something in me. And then, you know, the more you kind of talk about the voiceovers and stuff, the more, I don't know, it's exciting. Maybe I'll check it out and get into it. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, because I got to the point that I was like, Ashley's just humoring me when I'm like, okay, so they released this character, and when you cast his special one, he go, you know, and she's just kind of like, she's just kind of humoring me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to people that actually know what I'm talking about. I'm a drummer as well, and my brother's a drummer, so that when we get together, we start talking drumming.
Okay.
Any drummer that comes across another drummer, you can talk about drumming, and
absolutely
anybody else would just kind of zone out.
I wouldn't get it.
You know, it was fun, and I love the podcast aspect of communication, because, you know, when I started in radio in the mid '90s, there really was still only radio and CDs and tapes.
Okay.
You know, there really wasn't as many options as they were. I can remember when the satellite radio started up, and the conversation around radio that, oh, this is going to be a hit on, you know, terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
And when the internet started up, I can remember when they started talking about podcasts years ago.
Yep. And
I told my program director at the time, I said, this is going to be something big. You know, we probably need to try to get into this. But podcasts are one of those, as a radio person, I've always been told, you know, you've got competition. The other station is your competition.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about podcasts, is that They're not competition.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have a competition with someone else. I have fellow podcasters talking about the same thing.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. The way you put it kind of made the feeling that I have make sense. Like I'm doing this for fun. I'm not trying to compete with somebody like you're saying, or do this to like I need to make money or something. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. I'm not competing.
Right.
I can show up to it because I'm having fun. Right. So, what about, is that how you feel, Ghost Dog?
That is how I feel.
Okay.
I was, pretty excited when I got the messages like, I haven't talked to Moose in a while. What's Moose want? Moose says, yeah, we're going to start a podcast. Would you like to be part of it? Like, duh.
Yeah, and I didn't even know. Honestly, I had no idea. I knew around the time that there were starting to become there were podcasts in our game. I honestly had no idea there were other podcasts in our game. I was so just ingrained in my community and building that the only thing that I thought was outside of like Line was Reddit. I didn't think there was anything else. And honestly, I didn't even ever look at the Contest of Champions Reddit. I just looked at the looking for group Reddit. So I was so lost, but seeing all of the other people out there and all that stuff, it's been fun. But yeah, you're not competing. It's definitely fun. Yeah, for sure.
And I know I can speak for Dragon and Bagel and Royal and JJ and even J Nick, who's the newest member of our podcast. We all have never felt, and even in our private chats, nobody's ever said anything negative about the other podcasts, because we have ours, and then I think Cam and Starfighter and Rich and Dan and you guys, and I think there's a couple others that had started up, and I don't know if they went anywhere because they had contacted me and us about some tips.
Oh, okay.
And none of us have ever really had anything negative to say about these other podcasts, because we don't look at it as competition. We look at it as, oh, that's cool. When I'm mowing the yard, actually, is when I catch up on you guys' podcast, and then the next week I'll try to catch up on Rich and Dan's podcast. That's the time that I'll get to catch up on the podcast, is doing my yard work and stuff.
Fun. Yeah, no, I always pop in and out of your guys' here and there, because I don't know. It always seems to be about dinner when I'm hungry and I want to make dinner. So
me too.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, no, I should doing some yard work. I don't know why I got other music on, but why not listen to a podcast? Yeah, no, that's a good idea. I normally do it in the morning when I can't sleep, so I just wake up early and the house is quiet, and that's when I normally do all my kind of managing and listening and catching up on everything. And then when everybody's awake, nobody wants me to hear me talk about the game around me, so I don't. So that's my time. But yeah, so yeah, no, for sure, it's definitely been fun. And yeah, no, getting to know everybody and just all different YouTube channels out there is yeah, exactly, it's fun. I don't know. I guess I've never heard of the inside of a radio, in and out of a radio station, but I guess you compete, right? I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
cutthroat? It used to be a lot worse than what it is now.
Really?
It really did used to be a lot worse than what it is now, but
I guess. Yeah, no, I mean, my cousin's in the music industry, and I guess I'm thinking about it. I guess there's a lot of money involved, I guess, behind the scenes, paying each other off.
And especially nowadays, radio has had to change over the last 20 years because of the internet. Yeah. That we've had to completely change what they used to do. The radio from, that we used to listen to as kids is not the same radio as today.
Makes sense.
So and with the technology increasing, it has dropped down the amount of employees that you have to do stuff, because in radio, everybody had a title. That's what we used to joke about. Everybody's got a title in radio. Well, now you've got a handful of people, and this guy's got 5 titles. I am the operations manager, the production director, the program director, morning show talent, and promotions director.
Sounds busy.
Currently at my radio station.
It sounds busy.
Yes, it's very busy.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I guess technology coming, everybody goes and does their own thing or just separates and does out. So yeah, I guess just the technology has made that a completely different industry for sure. That's interesting to think about. I haven't thought about it that much, but cool. I don't know. So, I mean, that's all I really had to chat about with you, Deacon, other than, maybe you could hang out and talk about the game as well. Ghost Dog, was there anything that you wanted to ask him or bring up with him?
Nope. I don't know comic books like you guys do. I was a comic TV series guy.
Okay.
So I am.
Which ones?
Obviously the X-Men's in the 90s.
Yeah.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which I'm surprised no one ever brought up Firestar before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved her in that series.
I have no idea.
I think she was only created for that
series, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. And then all the Marvel movies, from whether it was Fox or Sony or Marvel themselves producing the movies. Blade was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, me too.
Never saw Blade.
But you are not, you are not the minority there. I believe probably the majority of players in this game are just like you, that did not grow up reading comic books.
Yeah, probably.
For sure. I remember having the other day when I was doing some spring cleaning and all of this, pandemic, the house is all really clean now and everything's, it's good. But I came across a stack of X-Men like trading cards that I had.
Oh yes, I had those.
So much fun. And then I think I posted that picture of all those comic books that my buddy gave me of the like Marvel champions, like 85, all the different champions, like an encyclopedia like thing. The Blade in that one in the 80s, it's crazier. It's not the Wesley Snipes Blade.
Right.
Yeah, that's super fun to look through and just
made. Yeah, he defined that character.
Yeah,
after they made that movie, I can't think of Blade as anybody else, but I think of Wesley Snipes.
Well, you're going to think of Ali here soon, so.
Yeah, that's right. I'm thinking he's going to do a great freaking job.
I think he will.
That's right. So they were. Isn't the new kind of like Morbius or whatever? Isn't that, because that's coming out? Isn't that supposed to kind of introduce the whole Dracula thing, which is going to bring in Blade, right? Or am I completely off?
No, I think you're right. I think
you're right.
I think I heard that somewhere else.
Okay, all right. I'm interested to see the Morbius. Jared Leto to me is kind of hit and miss.
I'm the same way with you. He's one of those guys that you want to think is just an unbelievable actor or he's crap.
Yeah.
But a lot of the movies that he's been in that I've seen, I've really loved.
For sure.
He was in chapter 23 about John Lennon and what was his assassin's name?
Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. But
I know I can't right off the top of my head. Any other time I could.
Right.
But he was great. He gained 50 pounds or something for that role.
For sure. That was no suit. Yeah, no, he looked great. That was a fantastic movie. And the other movie he was in that I know everybody's also hit and miss on is Nick Cage. What is it? Where they sold guns, right? They sold weapons. He was in that movie, right? Gosh,
I don't remember.
Yeah, no. Anyways, but yeah, no, for sure. He's definitely hit and miss.
I think he's going to do a good job as Morbius, though. At least it looks good in the trailers.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we'll see how it goes. But they're also supposed to be introducing that he's just like another part of the Sinister Six, right? Or they're kind of hinting at Sinister Six. I'm not. See, that's the thing. I was never really in it. So
they've changed Sinister Six members over the years,
okay.
So it's almost like it's not just six. It's like the Avengers. They come and go.
Okay.
So whoever they put in there as the Sinister Six, I think that's a storyline that I'm really amazed that they haven't tackled with the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they've screwed up these movies over the years. I can remember when Marvel sold all of the rights to the movie studios years ago.
Okay.
And it was exciting at the time because you're like, oh, Fox has got these guys and Sony's got these guys, and you thought really that's going to be cool. But then in hindsight, you look at it and you're like, that was a terrible idea. God, that was a terrible idea.
They had to do it to stay afloat.
That's right. They had to do it to stay afloat. And so I'm the big X-Men fan. I've loved them since I was a kid. That was my main comics. If it was a mutant, I read about it. And the X-Men movies, the first 3 movies, we don't talk about those in my house. Those do not exist.
Fair enough.
What are you talking about?
Who?
Halle Berry was Storm? No, she wasn't. That always made me so mad. I'm like, Halle, kick their butts. You're one of the most powerful mutants.
But speaking of which, there was a rumor of the newest Storm who's going to be part of the Black Panther movie. They announced who's going to get the role, and I was very upset about this.
Who was it?
Really?
I do not want her to play Storm, and there's a lot of people who don't want Beyonce to play Storm.
Oh no, I don't.
Yeah,
she's too sweet.
Exactly. No, it's not even that she's too sweet. She's a terrible actress.
Well, I mean that too, don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like you have to be top-notch grade A to get the role.
No,
but she's not good at all.
Has she even acted really anything?
Yeah, she's had a lot of different movies. See, that's the thing. You're asking.
That's a good point. You're asking.
Her best role that I thought she played was in Goldmember.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
The best one, and then from there it went downhill.
Yeah. See, I don't even remember any other ones, and I barely remember that until you told me. So,
her most recent one was The Lion King. She was Nala in The Lion King.
Oh,
okay, but that's voice, right? I mean,
that's voice.
Not taking anything away from that, Deacon, but no.
Yeah. So I mean, she's done other things, and she to me she overreaches.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't seem. I mean, is there any example that we could think of in recent years where you're like that person probably shouldn't have been it, but they ended up turning out very good? Nothing come to mind right now. It's just a question.
Like all you've seen is Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, no.
And he was okay though. I thought.
No, he wasn't.
I thought he was all
wasn't.
right.
He was not okay.
The movie itself was. I mean, it was cheesy.
I've always been in the camp of let's give some of these no-name people that we don't know a shot.
Yeah, there you go.
They always turn out to be the best ones, anyways, right?
Yeah, and
not well for. I mean, you think Chadwick Boseman for Black Panther?
Yeah,
they had.
what's his name for Thor? Chris Hemsworth.
No one knew who he was until he played Thor.
Yeah.
It's worked out for them in the past.
Yeah.
And I was even okay with Hugh Jackman. You can't. You kind of knew his name, but Hugh Jackman today, when you say Wolverine, he's who you think of. And the only thing that I always had to complain about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was I was like, Wolverine. One of his defining personalities is he's like 5'2", 5'3". He's got little man syndrome. That's why he, that's one of his defining points of his personality is that he's short. And Hugh Jackman's like what, 6'1"?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's the only complaint I had about Hugh Jackman. Other than that,
I thought Hugh Jackman was a great Wolverine. Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah.
I always see the argument about him being short. He wasn't short. I just thought it was funny. But it's like they make Tom Cruise tall, right? They should have made him short. Put everybody on shadows.
Photo action on him, some camera tricks.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, also, so about MCOC, really, since we kind of do the MCOC, I did end up going camping this week, so I was a couple days behind. But a few days there, I was really searching for some news that had gone on in the last week. I didn't really find anything other than like some kind of hints of people doing that, hints of, maybe new champions. Other than that, and then there was we got the compensation for the Hotel MODOK thing.
Yeah, the compensation for the Hotel MODOK.
What happened? Why did we get that?
Okay, so the Hotel MODOK compensation actually came from the intel Uh, so there were people
Oh.
who bought the intel from like their crystal purchases and got for some reason got wiped out. So along with the 10,000 intel that we got, they turned around about a week or so later and handed this out as additional compensation as MODOK comes. And people were flipping out, going crazy about like, why are you guys getting mad? They gave us 10,000 intel tickets and they're giving us MODOK coins.
Right.
Where's
Right.
what are we mad about? You
Yeah.
still have your crystal. It wasn't like you lost your crystal.
Right. I had some guys in my alliance that had bought the extra intel, and they did not know about the compensation. They didn't know that, it was all kind of unexpected because the update happened, and for like 5, 10, 15 minutes after the
Yeah.
update,
They
you
were
could
announcing, yeah, they were.
you could buy intel, and it didn't cost you anything. So players loaded up and bought all those little um, rift. What were they called that opened the rifts?
Yeah, they opened the rifts, the chrometers.
Detectors.
Yeah, they bought them all out, and I thought that was a good move on Kabam's part by just going, okay, let's just give everybody intel.
Just give everybody enough.
In it, but because they did that, all these people that bought intel were, they were kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So that was a good move. They're making good moves. They used to not do this crap, and there's other games that don't do this stuff.
Nope.
I would say they used to compensate when it would fall, like when it would, they did all those emergencies maintenances and then they stopped. But yes, they do seem to be kind of coming back with it, which is good. Hopefully it shows that they care, which it seems like they are.
Yeah, a lot of people want to hate on Kabam, and I can understand why. I'm not a Kabam shill, even though I've been accused of being one for a long time. I'm just one of these people that I think it on different levels, or I think on the different levels. I think not only as a player, but what would I do if I was a game creator and this was my game?
Right.
Yeah.
Would I do this? Would I make these decisions? And sometimes you got to think, well, it's not just one guy or a group of people there doing it. Sometimes the stockholders or the uppers come down and say, you're doing this and you don't have a choice about it.
For sure.
So I try to give them, yes, they are there's a couple of guys in my alliance that still hate on all the time. They're like, all they are is money making. They're so money hungry. And I'm like, they got to earn money, dude.
It's a business.
They got to earn money.
For-profit company. Like, if you were selling the product, you want to make money off of it? Like, no, here it is. You can have this for free.
I'm glad people spend a crap ton of money on this game because I don't spend a lot of money on this game.
For sure.
So I appreciate the people that do, and the people that do spend money, I do believe they should be either higher up, farther along than me.
Yeah,
because I don't spend money on this game.
Yeah, I also feel like they should be heard.
Yeah. J-Nick is a perfect example, and I don't know if he spent a lot of money or if he's just really freaking good. Probably a little bit of both. But he's been playing this game for 2 years, and he is way farther along than I am. And I've been playing for close to 5 years. I'm not even. I could do Abyss if I wanted to, but it would cost me a crap ton of units.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to.
Fair.
And some people are just a lot better, or some people don't mind throwing money at this game. I've got another buddy who is one of the top, but he's probably one of the top 10. And he's in the number 1 alliance. He spent a bunch of money on this game.
It's fun.
So he should be farther along than I am.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate him spending this money so that I can still enjoy my game.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I think, there is that balance. And yeah, I mean, if people choose to do it, it's a hobby of theirs. They like to do it. They should be rewarded for doing it because, again, like you're saying, it keeps the game up for all of us. It pays people. It's the circle. It's great. That's what should happen. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe they should be listening to the people that are making their paychecks and buying their yachts and stuff like that, and starting all of these other games that are making all of this other money that they're using with the money they've made from from Marvel. So there's just that whole tie that I think I would like. You'd always like more, especially from something. But yes, you have to understand that yes, it's a business and they're doing what they can and probably the best they can. I guess you hope so, right?
Yeah, and not only are they trying to appease and cater towards the top end money players, but they've also got a lot of mid to upper mid tier players like me, and then you've got a lot of the lower tier players and people that have just started that they're all trying to cater to at the same time.
Yep.
They're trying to do this balancing act. So if it doesn't seem like they're immediately jumping on something right as soon as the community has a problem with it, it's like the community goes bonkers.
For sure.
And you have to realize that this is a company. They can't just make a decision in one day. It's got to go through probably 50 freaking people.
Yeah. It's a huge company and probably many different levels. And, exactly. It's got to go through different people. And, like what you were saying about how, they have so many different people at so many different levels. You have the people who, are the top alliances, the mid-tier. I would probably consider myself a mid-tier. And then there are the, kind of lower tier. And that's just the less developed ones, if you will. They started playing later. And I have, I'm help manage, a big community that sees all of the different kind of levels and tiers of everything. And like you're saying, they do have to cater to everybody. And I think they are to a certain extent, for sure. I think you have those people who don't want to be in Alliance, but still have a reason to kind of log in every day because they do enjoy the game. And I think these side events, maybe aren't for people like myself or whatever, because honestly, they're kind of boring, but whatever. They're more resources, so it is something to do. But you're getting those people, different people, to log in every day as opposed to just the people that want to be part of Alliance or have some crazy habit that they started 5 years ago that they can't get rid of.
Right. And that's perfect how you said that, because last month and this month our side events have been what I said this on our podcast. I was like, it's really just not a lot for the player of our level.
Mm-hmm.
The awakening gems was, in the T5B shards, and a couple you could get 1,000 and 100 6-star shards. And this month, what am I spending my coins on? I bought all the 5-star crystals, and now I'm buying up the signature stones.
Same.
And nothing else in there appeals to me.
Same.
But my other son, Alex, has a level 19 or 20 account,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm harping on him every night. Dude, log in. You've got to do this because you're going to build up your character. You can get these the T3s and T2s that you need to rank up your 4-star characters that you have. So I'm looking at it from his standpoint, thinking these are great side events for lower people, because I can remember us struggling, to try to get these and this was before 5 stars and all this, but to see somebody with a rank 4-star, you were like, oh man, that's one of the elite players right there.
Yeah. I remember when I ranked 5, my first, 4-star, everybody was like, oh my God. Oh my, like, I can't wait to do that too. And like, it was news,
I can remember there was a guy in our alliance that had he was an upper player. He was a bigger player that was in our alliance, and he had a 5-star rank 2 regular Captain Marvel with the mohawk. And he was mowing down bosses and mini bosses, and we were all like, this dude's so awesome.
Yeah. For sure.
He was using his freaking Captain Mohawk Marvel.
Yeah. Well, and back then, that champ hit so hard. Yeah, compared to, because that was.
We're saying it back then, but what's that, like 2 years ago?
A
couple of years ago.
These were the elite players of the game. People that had rank 5 4-stars and rank 2, and starting to rank 3, they're 5-stars.
And now I have so many tier 4 class catalyst crystals and fragment shards that
all I got on my ears.
I will never use all of these.
Right. I just started having to not open them because of having too many. Because I don't also really like the little red numbers. I'm not a huge fan of those. So I did have to kind of.
Oh, I've got like 3,600 unopened crystals, and Ashley's like you. She's like, why don't you open those crystals? And I'm having to explain to her, if I do, they go on a timer to expire.
Yep. I'm either selling, and at the point I'm selling them,
Yeah.
or I'm ranking up somebody I really don't want to rank up at that
And
moment.
there's been times when I've wanted to rank up somebody and I don't have any like cosmic T4.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to open some of these 60 some odd T4 class catalyst crystals that I've accumulated.
Yeah.
And then I end up with like 15 tech that crap. I guess I'm going to have to rank up some crap tech character now.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I definitely had to do that a couple times because of my lack of liking those little red numbers. So I stopped because I ranked just some bad tech champ. Like I think at one point somebody had convinced me that Iron Patriot was good for something, so I ranked him up.
What? Good to be laughed at.
But I had nothing else. Like I had like no other. Like it was either sell it or use it, and I was like, all right, fine, I might as well use it. But.
Yeah, I might as well use it, even if you got to rank up some of those characters. And I've always been in the on the side of every character has a purpose.
True.
Now, whether that purpose is for the higher level players, probably not. I pulled my bishop not too long ago and duped him, my 5-star bishop, and I've never pulled him, but he is like the number 2 favorite character of all time for me, under Cable, just under Cable. Cable and Bishop have always been my favorite characters ever.
Yep.
And when I got a Bishop, I was so excited. And everybody's like, it's freaking Bishop, dude. It's my one buddy calls him a Rastafarian Cable just to tick me off.
That makes sense.
I'm like, dude, he's awesome. He's useful in certain situations, but when I start thinking of it, how useful is he for me?
No.
Not very,
No.
but how useful is he for my son who's level 20?
Yeah.
Probably very useful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Civil Warrior gets a Bagel on the podcast always kind of roast JJ and I when we get on the Civil Warrior kick. But Civil Warrior for a level 15 to 25, if you don't have like a Claire or Captain America Infinity War, some godlike character, and you got Civil Warrior,
Or
he can do a lot. Yeah, he can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can get you through some content.
He could teach you patience.
That's what I've always been a little disheartened when I go and see people saying, "Oh, that's a trash character," or on our Discord server when one of the newer characters is like, "Hey, I got a superior Iron Man," and everybody's like, "Trash, trash, trash!" Oh, that disheartens this new player that doesn't know. So instead of saying he's trash, say, "Oh man, his L2 will completely smack you down."
Right.
He's got his positives,
Yeah.
but he's not a god tier character.
For sure. Actually, we were having a conversation just like that this morning in one of our chats. Somebody pulled Miles Morales, right? And he was like, well, my last, few 5 stars have been, garbage. And, he just pulled Miles. And I was like, I mean, honestly, like, I like Miles. You put him, you place him well on defense, he could be a real pain. Especially, in the mid tier, kind of lower tier, kind of 10-ish, 8-ish tiers. He can be a pain. And his synergies are great and all of that stuff. And somebody was like, oh, he's below average, but also continued to say how good he was at war and how his synergies are, and he could do well in some of these fights. And then brought up some tier list where I think he was at the very end. I think it was Seaton's where he's like a meme tier list or something like that. And I looked over and to the other 2 tiers to the left, I was like, I would rather Miles over so many of those other players.
Yeah.
And so it's that conversation again. And I feel like we also went into the conversation of it's a lot of it's preference. It depends on what you can do with that champ. And if that works with your style, like I can't do it because I evading champs, it throws my rhythm off. I can't handle when they're evading and I didn't expect them to,
I'm not a ghost player.
Okay.
I can't get the hang of her.
Everybody
says, "Oh, use your ghost. She's so awesome," and I agree. Man, I've seen those videos. Holy crap! I can't do it.
Yeah.
Quake is the same way. I've got an R4 duped Quake that I'm not going to pull the trigger to R5 her because I'm not a great Quake player.
Damn.
I watched Dave do it, and I'm like, how is he doing that?
I don't understand how people deck so many times.
I'm getting smacked in the face every time.
Right? Or specials are just blowing right through me, and there I go.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think it's great that they do, but it's like you said, and we say all the time, rank who you like and use who you like.
Exactly.
I am a huge Venom fan. I've got an R4 Cable. I'm not going to R5 him because he's my all-time favorite character, but he's not going to help me anywhere.
I don't even know why you rank Fordham.
Because I was in the retirement alliance at the time,
Fair
and
enough.
like, I'm going to rank 5 my Cable.
Fair.
Screw everything else. This is what I'm doing.
I ranked 5 my 4-star back in the day because he was kind of annoying on defense.
Oh, so did I.
Old map.
It's different.
And but then everybody got used to him, and so now he kind of,
Right.
Doesn't really
sat on the
work
bench
anymore.
for a long time.
But right now I'm to the point to where I don't have any. I'm not going to do Labyrinth Legends. I'm probably never going to touch Abyss. I'm slowly going to explore Act 6. I'm not in a rush to get to Act 7 by any means. So I'm ranking characters that I enjoy playing with or that I need for some reason.
For sure.
I needed my last R5 I think was Human Torch, and it's not because I wanted to do Abyss. It was just because I needed somebody to counter, some specific freaking characters that I came across.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, but he's not like a bad person to rank, anyways.
No,
no,
him
he's a lot of
and
fun.
I rank 5 my Domino that I hardly ever use anymore. I ranked 5 Namor that I hardly ever use anymore because my team consists of my main questing team, Captain Movie Marvel and Nick Fury, and then I've got Human Torch, Venom, and Stark Spider-Man. All R5s, and they all take care of everything that I need.
That sounds like it should. Yeah. Yeah, I think mine these days, I just rank 5 Colossus, which, I never really thought I'd say that. But up until his, right? He used to suck. What was that? What's that node? He was only useful on one node in war. I think it was like node 11, where he was just an absolute pain. Like he just timed out no matter who you fought. But I've been using him a lot. So he's definitely been a lot of fun. But yeah, I never really thought I'd rank him. So he's been a fun champ to use.
And I've got I can R5 2 more characters right now, but I just don't know who. I do not have a 5-star Blade. I'm still one of these people that if I had a 5-star Blade, I would use him everywhere. I've got a Skill Awakening gem and a lot of signature stones that are sitting waiting for Blade.
Huh.
And
I thought I was the last one to pull Blade.
Oh no, I still don't have him. He's one of my top 3 I would love to have. Because I would use him. I would not only use him all the time. I'm a huge Ghost Rider fan.
Okay.
And I would R5 my Ghost Rider in a heartbeat if I had an R5 Blade to pair with him.
Nice. Yeah, we were talking. What we were saying earlier. You didn't have, was Corvus the other one that is eluding you as well?
My top, I guess my top 5, top 4 are Blade, Corvus, Iron Man Infinity War, or not Iron Man, Captain America Infinity War, and Void. I do not have as 5 stars that I have Awakening Gems and Signature Stones waiting on any of these characters.
Nice. Yeah, I have. I do have those, but
see, I think that's funny because there's people that say, "Oh, I've got this character and I never use it." I'm like, I don't have that character and I want him so bad. Can we trade?
Fair enough. No, I mean I get that. Yeah.
I will give you my Quake if you will let me have your Captain America.
You know what was crazy? For the longest time, I had such terrible luck with my 5 stars. Like I was rocking rank 4 Winter Soldier and rank 4 Storm for really the longest time because I had nobody worth ranking up, and then all of a sudden I got like everybody. So like I did get Void, but everything's going into Cap Infinity War. I got Corvus. Like
That sounds like me, because the first two R4s of my 5 stars, my very first R4 5-star was Guillotine.
Okay. There you go.
And a buddy of mine convinced me to do it. And I've never really been upset that I wasted that on Guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
She is a great freaking character.
Yeah.
And now that her SIG is really high, she can steal so much health.
Okay.
And then my second R4 was Hawkeye.
Okay.
And Hawkeye still to this day is so underrated.
I was gonna say, yeah.
use him and can get through so much content with him because he's not complicated.
No.
You only have to use his special one, and he doesn't need his signature ability.
Yeah.
Nope.
If I was to pull a 6-star Hawkeye, I would he's one that I would use all the time.
I was just gonna say that. Like,
I don't use him all the time, but I was happy that I pulled him.
Yeah, and you know, he could use some improvements. Dragon and I have been kind of wanting him to be changed for a long time. Our idea was the trick arrows to dash back like on Winter Soldier, and you can change him to like an ice arrow.
There you go.
Or dash back again, and he has an armor break arrow or something.
Yeah.
But and with the new, what's the new synergy? Is it with Tigra?
Tigra.
Yeah.
It's poison instead of bleed.
Everything changes to poison. So I thought that was really cool because now you can use him on Colossus isn't poison immune, is he?
No.
Yeah, see, so he would be now I can use my Hawkeye against Colossus, and you know, he's not one of there were certain characters that you couldn't use Hawkeye with, but there's certain characters that he just absolutely devastates.
Yeah.
And he's not a complicated character, and he's not a god tier character, but he's one of those characters that, man, he's really good the way he is.
For sure. To me, he's kind of like always reminds me of the Vision, the not OG Vision, the Age of Ultron one.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I used him as a 4-star so much, loved him. He like neutralized every fight essentially, just because you know you can steal power, heal block, all that stuff. And he was the double immune and all that. I really wish he was a 5-star. That'd be great. Is he? No.
That I used in Age of Ultron, Vision, and Rogue were the 4 stars that I used back in the day to clear the map 5 when it was just map 5. We didn't have 6 and 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I used Hyperion and Captain America in World War II in Guillotine, not 2099. Guillotine.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, my team was the Winter Soldier, Storm, and Vision. That was a fun one. Vision made. I also used him a lot more.
And who was your team there, Ghost Dog? Who did you say?
Hyperion.
Yeah, Hyperion.
Yeah.
Hyperion is another one of those for me that's like Quake and Ghost. I have an R4 Hyperion, and I just awakened him. I pulled a Cosmic Gem last month with a couple of them. I pulled 2 or 3 gems. And I used the Cosmic one on Hyperion and took him to R4. But he's one of those where everybody is telling me, oh, he gets me through every bit of content. You need to R5 him. He gets me through every bit of content. But when I try to, if I can get 6 freaking Furies, I'm like, oh my God, hurry, cast the special, because I can never accumulate the Furies like everybody else can for some reason.
I love using my hybrid. I used him as a 4-star. I got him as a 5. He helped me through Act 5. He's helped me in Act 6. So I still use him. I don't use him as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Just because I obviously have Corvus. I have Captain Marvel movie. I have other cosmics now that can help out. But he still finds a way on my team if I need like a poison immune that has Fury.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
and see, I don't get a lot of the new characters. I don't buy a lot of crystals.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my in bed with Deeks, when I bought those 10 Doom crystals to let Alex open, that was the first time I have bought new crystals in a long, long time, a couple of years, I would say. Mm-hmm. So I usually don't get the brand new characters because as CCP members, they grant them to us to play, and then they yank them from our account. So I get to play with them for a little bit, but I never have any of the new characters. And I have to find a way to use those older characters.
Nice. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, fun, guys. I mean, I think we're going on pretty long here. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, I think. But I've had, I don't have any real more notes other than I did want to mention, and you actually put it down on our notes here. Ghost Dog was Super Gaming's Incursion tournament.
Yes, I believe today is the last day to sign up for it. I don't know how many slots he's got left.
Okay.
But that is coming up. I believe it starts Wednesday. But if the simple rules are, you have to either be a YouTuber or be with somebody who does YouTube. And then there's other rules for that YouTuber. If you're not on YouTube, the person that's not on YouTube, they have to follow some certain rules. And you can do your run whenever within that time frame, that 5-day time frame he's got set up. And then each week, the winner will move on. Winners will move on. I think he says going for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, so
this is such a cool idea.
Right.
I heard him talk about this, and then I've seen him talk about it on Twitter, and I think a couple of the Kabam folks said that they were interested, and he responded positively, like, "Oh yes, really, for real." So I really think this is cool. I like Super. He's cool. He seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, he is a good guy.
Yeah, he's fun to chat with. That'll be super fun to kind of watch, all the incursion all the people doing it. And I didn't realize you could still sign up, man. I'll hit him up. I need to find a partner though. Who's going to be your partner? You're in it, right?
I'm not.
Oh, I thought you were.
No, I have some things coming up.
Fair.
This very first week, and so it's going to keep me from being a part of the tournament.
Makes sense. Well, good luck with those things.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Yeah,
there'll be a small announcement about it. So
okay, fun stuff. Oh yeah, and then everybody's got to follow you on your YouTube and your Twitter for your 1K giveaway.
Yeah. 1K giveaway. We're halfway through. Got quite a few people that have joined in. There's still plenty of space and plenty of time. There's a whole week left of entries left coming up. So if you're not following me, if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, get there. The rules are there. And then I'll actually probably be putting out a video this afternoon or this evening, actually, with all the prizes. I finally got the box separated out and thought about what's going to be what prize.
Nice.
Package together. And so then we'll do it that way.
Nice.
Man, can I say what I love about Ghost Dog's channel and his videos are I appreciate the content creators that put a lot of work into their backgrounds and graphics and all this mess, like Dave and Rich. And I love watching Ghost Dog and here comes his granddaughter. Or somebody walks through in the background. I love that aspect about those videos. It makes me feel like I'm sitting there beside him in a kitchen chair watching him play this game in his house with him.
For sure, that's how I always felt about the.
I have moved locations though. So
see that, yeah.
You get less walking by in the background. But every now and then my granddaughter would pop in. She'll pop in.
That's great. I love that. I loved when she would pop in.
That's awesome. Awesome, guys. Well, yeah, so I think that's all we really got on the docket here. So, again, Deacon, really appreciate you joining us. It definitely was a fun chat having with you, and, hope to do it again sometime.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me. This has been a good conversation.
Thanks, Deacon, man, for joining us.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Well, yeah, so I'm going to get ready to kick Craig out here, but everybody that joined us here on our Discord and everybody on my YouTube channel, I definitely appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you, in the future.
Yep. See you soon.
See you later.
Later.